The old UFC gloves are back, and so are the eye pokes. Henry Cejudo was the recipient of one of the worst eye pokes ever, a 2-4. It happened in round 3, but since he was able to continue and finish the round, the fight went to the scorecards where, when between rounds 3 and 4, Cejudo stated he could not continue due to being unable to see. He said he was seeing double. Let's get a reaction from the Boston shot caller, Nolan King. You're batting leadoff.
Yeah, it was not the way you want to see any fight end, right? And I think a lot of times when there's these weird circumstances where something happens and a referee has to get involved and there's mass confusion, it can, stir up a lot of disappointment. And I think that was a big factor in some of the criticism that was thrown Jason Herzog's way. Granted, it was a confusing situation. Ultimately, I think he did handle it pretty properly. I still have some questions about exactly what went on, mainly the fact that he decided to, kind of take it to that, to go to the judges' scorecards versus having it a no contest, or, deeming that it was the foul. That I just felt like there was a lot of, there was some confusion, but it was kind of cleared up online. Big John McCarthy, I think, did a very good job of explaining the entire thing on there. And I think ultimately Herzog did get it right. It was a disappointment. I was kind of a little not bummed out, but I would have liked to see Dana White maybe have some openness about running this one back. I know maybe it's not the most thrilling matchup. Maybe, we figured we kind of knew where it was going with the success that Song was having. But I do think when something like that happens, I wouldn't hate giving the fighter the benefit of the doubt who was fouled. Like, that was kind of a stinky situation, right? To be poked in the eye and then not be, because of that foul, lose 2 rounds that you could try to rally, you could try to get a finish. So to me, just kind of an unfortunate situation all around, not how you want to see a main event, because that card was pretty good, right? And that would have been nice if that fight was exciting and continued to play out. So ultimately a bummer. I think Jason Herzog, did do a fairly good job there of handling the situation. And I guess we just move on and this is kind of in the rearview mirror now.
Nolan, do you think Dana's reluctance comes from maybe Henry might have been trying to game the system?
I mean, that's certainly the implication that I think when fans have a disappointing fight go down in front of them, right? We saw that reaction from a lot of people saying he quit. Oh, he was fine to fight the minute and 10 seconds between the foul and that end of round. To me, Dana kind of non-commented that question, which I think sometimes silence can be deafening, right? Like, was that the implication that he wasn't necessarily happy with Henry kind of asking to get out of the situation? But to me, man, if you're sitting there, your eyes on the line, like, you can't see, now you're not protecting that side of your head from taking some more damage. You don't know what's going on. I mean, that's a scary thing, right? Like getting poked in the eye and not being able to see. You don't know how much damage is there. So I can't fault Henry. Clearly, he posted pictures. There's some damage that's very visible there. Never mind the damage that you can't see. So who knows what Dana's kind of take on that would be. I would like to have heard like a follow-up question, just saying, kind of what's your view of a situation like that? Should a guy try to keep going if he has blurry vision? But we didn't get it. So who knows? I guess we move on from here.
Danny, what was your reaction to the fight, how it played out, and of course the ending?
Yeah, so I've been on vacation, so I didn't get to see this until after the fact. So I did see first all the commotion online, and then I went and saw the fight. And a couple of things struck me. One, online chatter and what people were saying, specifically other journalists, they made it seem almost as if Henry Cejudo was getting blown out of the water, that he was not competitive in the fight. Then he got eye poked, and I guess insinuating that perhaps he took that as a way out and hopefully get a no contest or something like that, but instead ended up losing a technical decision. I thought the fight was pretty even, in my opinion, and the eye poke was pretty clear. And then, as Nolan mentioned, there was damage there, as seen in pictures that Henry posted after the fact. So I don't know, man. Like, I thought it definitely affected him. If you look at the eye poke and then you look at the action after that, like, Henry Cejudo didn't even want to engage. And I do think he was down on the scorecards, not getting blown out of the water, but all throughout he was pressing, he was getting hit. I mean, he was getting complimented by the commentary for his chin. And all of a sudden he gets eye poke, and then the fight changes quite rapidly, and he's all of a sudden backing up, wiping the eye. Like, it was clearly bothering him. Also, keep in mind that when this guy fought, was it Marlon Mirage for the vacant belt? His leg wasn't even working. He was getting kicked, and yet he was still trying to find a way to win. That's just in his DNA. So I really do believe Henry Cejudo that he tried his best to make it work, and it just didn't. It just didn't. At the end of that round, he couldn't continue, and then he ended up losing a technical decision. And I think this is a good moment to kind of revise this rule, because here there's a clear foul. The fight is stopped because there's a foul. There's an illegal move being done, and the person affected by it can't continue fighting, and then ends up losing a technical decision because of it. When he didn't do anything wrong. This was on Song Yadong, and obviously it wasn't intentional, but still, a foul is a foul. I don't know, man. Something about this whole situation just doesn't sit well with me. I do think we need to revise those rules and make a change so that we don't feel this way. It just feels like Henry Cejudo didn't get a fair shake. So very, very bizarre situation, and I'm really curious to see what your thoughts are, GG, as well as Goes.
All right, Goes, you're up next, man. What'd you think of all this? There's a lot here, you know what I'm saying? So unpack it.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things, and I agree with a lot of things Nolan and Danny are saying too. And thank you to Big John McCarthy, such an anchor in our sport, to be able to share his time and come out and kind of explain that, because even people who have been watching the sport for such a long time, we don't know every single rule for every single situation. It does get kind of confusing. So I was kind of with Nolan with Nolan in the beginning. I had thought, well, okay, was it really Jason Herzog's job to kind of direct this towards the fourth round? I was a little confused with all that as well. When you think about things like gambling, right? What if I had the fight ending in the third round or the under or something? Like, our sport has grown so much that these little things now affect so many things. And that's what makes me so grateful for some of these refs and these judges that we do have. I know sometimes we come at them, but look, a guy like Jason Herzog, I don't know that very many referees in this world could have maybe called this situation the way he did. And in the end, Big John McCarthy said he would have done it the exact same way. The one thing that, with what Danny said that I agree with is maybe it's time to kind of look at this situation and maybe fix it for the future. Because me personally, I'm not a big fan of going to the cards in that situation, because look, I mean, Henry Cejudo, when have we ever really known him to be a guy that quits in the middle of a fight? This is an Olympic gold medal winner, winning 2 titles in MMA. Like that, you don't do that being a quitter. And don't forget, like, we're talking about the damage to the left eye. He also got poked in the right eye as well. So, I mean, anybody that does that to do that to yourself right now, it's going to take a while for that to clear up. And this is a very dangerous sport. So I wasn't too big of a fan of people saying he quit. I don't have a problem with seeing this fight happen again, but I will admit, I thought Song Yadong was winning the fight. I wouldn't say he was mopping the floor with him, but I thought he was winning. So if we do it again, I'm okay. If they move away from it, that's fine. But I would kind of like to see this rule talked about a little bit more and just maybe fix that for the future, because I just don't like calling it up until the moment what we have. That doesn't really make too much sense to me.